Precious kitty cat Feather, and I'm doing her some nice things. That's my flags. This is my HHO setup. It's been running for about 52 minutes, and what they tell me, I was looking at George Wiseman's videos very carefully. Actually, I was in a bathtub. I was using this thing, bubbling the water. I was making a container of ice, cold HHO water. I was drinking that. Was breathing the gas, all this kind of crap. Actually, I feel pretty good. I was trying to determine how long the water stays with hydrogen and active electrical charge when you put it in an open water kiddie bowl, right? Like this over there, that one there. And I'm not sure. And I was looking at his interviews very carefully. If you put it in a sealed container, it's got a half-life of a day, which means it's still got potential. So you say a half-life for 24 hours in a sealed container, and then another day it has half of that again. And, in a few days it's basically gone, right? The electrical charge and the hydrogen. In an open container, at least according to George Wiseman, I was looking at something I read. It says it dissipates. Regular hydrogen dissipates, like if you just make hydrogen water, it'll dissipate in the open container in a matter of a few hours, 2 or 3 hours. And according to what I was looking from, I'm very careful looking at all his interviews. They're like an hour or something long. So I was actually, in the bathtub using the HHO bubbler with the Epsom salts and the borax and all this other crap. And, then I went to the gym after that, even though it was like, I went to the gym like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I don't know. It did give me energy. It's kind of weird. It's a weird kind of energy. But he said, and he could have been. I don't want to give him problem with this or anything. But if he said it'll like if you do this for the pets, some woman was interviewing him. If you do this for the pets, it'll last in a bowl for about half a day. You'd have to do it twice a day. So to me now it became worthwhile. So, and at his 80 liters a minute machine, it takes 10 minutes to do a quart of water, 40 minutes to do a gallon. This thing is putting out, even though at one point in time I had it cranked way over 200 liters an hour, easy. And I think it's still putting out probably at least 120. I mean, I think this thing's putting out, even though I cranked it down a lot, it took a lot of electrolyte out of it. I think it actually is doing like 2 liters a minute. Look at the size of those bubbles in there. See that? See the size of these bubbles? Like if you got a small hose, like that's a 3/8 inside diameter hose. Like if you got a 1/8 inside diameter hose, and the diameter, the actual volume that's coming out of it, that's not like 3 times the volume. It's like, I don't know, what is it? In other words, it's it's the area basically of the circle. Basically, is what's coming out of it. Basically, so pi r squared, right? So I mean, you've got like with 3/8 hose versus 1/8 inch. I mean, it's probably like a dozen times more coming out of it for the same amount of speed. So those bubbles, those big bubbles, like those are like, if that was an 1/8 inch hose, those bubbles would be flying out there like. And I need to put a stone on the end of it, which I ordered from a brewery that makes does for carbonation, so it can make a lot of small bubbles. But I think this thing will do that water much, much, much quicker. This is one of the advantages of this thing because it is a high output. It weighs a ton, doesn't have safety controls on it. And I put a timer on it, so I think that is thoroughly saturated with HHO, so I'm going to give it to the cats. But I was thinking not to do it, and I try to find out, because if it only lasts a couple hours, or 2 or 3 hours, I'm thinking that's not going to be worth it, because they might not even drink any of it, I'll just do the Doc Willard water. But I think it'll last, if it lasts like 10 hours, if it's got some effect in there for about 10 hours, that's okay, because within that 10 hours, that'd be pretty good. Plus, it can always bubble the one on the outside where Boots the Confederate Cat comes by. And I'm going to say this at this video too. I'm thinking very strongly now, I do not want to work full-time accounting, because this is another thing I knew about. I knew about the HHO health aspects for years. I didn't know how strong they were. I knew about the hydrogen. I knew all. I got the hydrogen water bottle finally, but I get diverted with so many different things. This turns out probably to be the strongest thing, because there's an electrical charge on the water. It's electrically expanded water. It's not just HHO. I didn't know that part. I learned that from George Wiseman. Actually, his machine, once, I was looking at the Delvis 11 machine, and he's got one that sells for $2,500, and it puts out separate hydrogen and separate oxygen, and you can combine them. But that's not HHO. When you put a membrane between these two things, and you say that side's hydrogen, that side's oxygen, and yet you can combine them, right? And maybe that is HHO in a way, but the one part you're not getting at all is the electrically expanded water, which is H2O plasma. It's a gaseous, electrically charged, gaseous form of water that is not it's not a vapor. It's a gas. It's a plasma. It's electrically charged. It donates electrons to the body. You're not going to get that. And I noticed that the Delvis machine, the Delvis 11 machine, one he's got, it's like $1,500 or something, or it's on sale for $1,250 or something. That one's a good one too, and it's small and lightweight. And but the other thing is, with the George Wiseman machine, he's got something in there to put a frequency in the water. So he's got it set for 432 hertz, and you're actually putting a frequency in the water plasma, the electrically expanded water, which gets down to your lungs or gets in the water. You put a frequency in it. So you could put the 528 hertz. Actually, you want to put 527.9. That's a DNA repair. And you could put various frequencies in the water, which I started thinking, with Parazapper, the guy that does the Parazapper. Well, if he put out these things, like a small one of these with his, with some set frequencies or a way to adjust the frequencies, I think I personally think this machine can make this, along with some other things with the spooky scaler and the Parazapper and all this other stuff. I think he could live 500 years in good health. I mean, I think the biblical ages are going to be coming right back to us again, and that's why I started thinking I would have been too busy screwing around with accounting, and I would have missed all this information. That's what's making me think I don't want to do this accounting shit. I do it a little bit, but I don't want to do it that much, because it's like diverting too much time away from other things that are suppressed. And it's like I'm trying to put them out in layman's terms, give you the quick and dirty on it. And sometimes, the videos go long, but I'm telling you, man, it took me a long time to cherry pick some of that information out of what George Wiseman said. He also said, you could breathe the gas if you got the machine at 4% hydrogen. You breathe the gas for 10 minutes. An average person gets their blood saturated. If you got it at 2%, you get the blood saturated in 20 minutes. Now, this thing is probably running like, I don't know, way the hell over 10%, which is explosive, I'm breathing it anyway, so, I'm not going to light no matches or anything like that, or watching out for static electricity and lightning coming out of the air. George, actually, in one of the interviews, he says he's taking his own personal risk, and he's doing 9%. And I started thinking, his stellar results were from, you can get really good results, as he said, from the 2% or the 4%, and 2% works fine, the concentration of hydrogen. But I personally, when I'm cherry picking through his interviews, I think he's breathing his gas like pretty much all freaking day at higher levels. That's what I think he's doing. I think. I don't know for sure. But considering he got good results at it, I think he's going balls to the wall to see what the hell happens. That's what I'm doing right now, too. That's why I didn't have the time to do all this, sit here and breathe this stuff. I have a Chinese welder machine coming in for welding acrylic for like $125 delivered. I'm going to add an extra bubbler to it, and use that for breathing. And I got the cannula and stuff like that. And see how that works out, because that thing only weighs like 13 pounds. It's got a little handle on it. And this thing weighs a ton, because this thing is what causes it. That's the weight. This is actually made for automotive, but it's the same HHO. The automotive, the welding, it's the same HHO. And I ain't too sure about Delvish, man, because I was thinking, why the hell is he... Well, I don't know, he's good. I guess they're all good, but, I mean, it's, I don't want to knock anybody, because it's like, but I noticed that if you got one of the Delvish machines, you'd be better off getting the one that is not the $2,500 one, because the $2,500 one doesn't have the electrically expanded water in it. Because when you have a plate, you have a membrane separating this side's oxygen, this side's hydrogen, and yeah, you can combine them. He has it where you can combine them again. And yeah, I guess that is HHO. It's, you combine it up. Maybe it's, I don't know. There's an HHO molecule, though. So I don't know if you just put H2 and H1, or, I don't know, maybe it does make HHO again. But it's not going to make the electrically expanded water. Because the electrically expanded water is like made right between, it's only when you don't have the membrane between the anode and the cathode. It's like right in the middle. Like on one side, I think it's on the negative side, you produce the hydrogen. On the positive side, you produce the oxygen. Now you could split it right where it's being produced with a membrane, and you're not going to get that electrically expanded water in HHO. Now he's got it where you can put the two gases back together again. I'm thinking, well, maybe that is basically HHO, but you're not going to get the electrically expanded water, the water plasma. And that's the thing with loaded up with electrons that's providing gobs of energy to the body. So, but you will, if you get the cheaper Delvish machine, I think it's like $12.50 on sale or something like that. I was almost, I was looking at that and I says, I don't want to go freaking spend money on this shit right now. I'm going to get the Chinese welder. I ordered it already. We'll do a video, and I'm going to probably do that video only on BitChute. That's going to be a type of video that I'm going to say, pay me a couple dollars or whatever the hell it is, because I'm going to try to save you money. If I develop that where it's going to work out pretty well, I'll try to save you a significant amount of money. And just be careful, don't light no matches, watch out for static electricity. And, I'm also figuring is, if you got a machine like this, one of the reasons you want to breathe it constantly, okay, so say you get your blood saturated in 10 minutes with the hydrogen and the HHO, whatever. And, well, what happens after you stop it? How long does it take for the blood levels to go down? How about the electrical charge from the water plasma, the electrons? So you're better, actually, if you were to say breathe this an hour a day, it would be far less effective to breathe it for 1 hour in one shot. It'd be better to do 3 20-minute sessions. That's what George Wiseman says. When you start thinking about it, you'd be better off doing 6 10-minute sessions. And that's why having a small compact machine might be the smartest thing in the world. Because say, you just happen to sit down and freaking read something or do something on a computer, grab the machine, flip it on the switch. This thing is not the thing to use. What I have coming for this is a power supply. It's a 50 amp rating at 12 volts. And, I don't know where I'm going to bolt it up instead of using that battery charger. I might bolt it to the outside over here, because if I bolt it to the inside, that'll be in direct line with this thing. You get water on you. It won't be UL listed. It won't get water on it, So I'd probably bolt it to the outside over here. And, not really sure how I'm going to run the water. Well, it'd be simple. It's just a positive and a negative, and then there's the three connections for the 120, and be good to go. And you can see as this thing heats up, you can see it's starting to pull like 50 amps, right? See that? I had this actually running for like about 2.5 hours straight when I was in the bathtub. This thing was probably, see, what they have in the machines is the safer machines. You see, as you run this thing a long time, this thing will start producing more and more and more. Where's my cat out there freaking going? Where's she going? It's so when you start it out, it's got less production. As this thing heats up, this thing will just keep producing more and more and more. Actually, one time I was using it and I popped a fuse. That's why I popped a 30 amp fuse. So I took out some of the electrolyte. But still, you know, as this thing heats up, I think this thing's producing like this thing right now might be doing 3 liters a minute. This thing's capable of doing up to 4 liters a minute. That's why I'm kind of wondering if you can even weld with this damn thing. Like welders are 1,000 liters an hour, but that doesn't mean you're going to be putting it at cranked up all the way. This thing could do over 200 liters an hour. It might be able to weld some kind of metal, like a good 1/8 inch thick or something, or even more. I don't know. That might be something else. That's another reason I got this. But I'm going to get in the little one, the little Chinese unit. I'm going to put that video out only on BitChute, and that's why I'll probably say, yeah, you pay me, you know, I ain't going to get much money for it, but I figured I was going to just say something about that. But this is one of the reasons I'm thinking, screw this accounting shit, because when you're too busy, there's a lot of stuff you're not going to freaking learn. And I'm thinking, you know, what George was saying too, he wouldn't give $1 million or $10 million because he thinks this thing is going to give him 20 more years of really good life. So I'm thinking to myself, you know, I'm agreeing with that. I mean, no matter what I make in accounting, if I did, I would have missed this. I would have missed out on this shit. Okay, now I know it, right? But then again, there's something else that's going to come up, and I'm thinking the money's going to come anyway. So, I mean, I got money and shit, but I'd rather have that freaking 20 grand a freaking year I had for the YouTube money. That was a little bit of fun money, man. But you know, I'm not going to get that from freaking PayPal. It's crazy, you know, and I wouldn't want it. I want to get that from Coca-Cola and the stupid advertisers they got on YouTube. I want them to pay me the money. God, dumb ads, you know. But this, you know, it's amazing. YouTube, they'll never have this as trending. They'll have some flake go out there one of these days with a, you know, earring in his freaking eyebrow or some shit, and talking like a flaky ass faggot, and someday probably saying something about this, and they'll put YouTube up, and they won't tell you a damn thing of what's going on with it, except YouTube will probably push it for like, you know, 20 million views because it's a flake. I noticed the freaking crap they push. I'm sick of their junk. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you this right at the end. I was at the gym last night. As always, I don't even do 3 hours anymore on that thing. I do an hour, and one of the reasons is they got this stupid cable TV, and I'm watching it, and Renee JK. So she's cool. The thing is, I'm watching this thing on cable TV. You know what? Every time I go there, I'm hitting a button. Click, 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 click. Click, click, click. Nothing's good on there. I don't understand why. I never get cable. But if they turn on YouTube into cable TV, you notice most of the freaking videos out there that are any damn good, they're from years ago. You know that? The new shit that's going on in there, they want, if anything's good, they're not going to pay anybody any money. Right? That's Susan. I'm going to have a few other things up there on BitChute, and I want to give you some other information about some other things. So that'll be coming up. Anyway, over and out.